attention, please. We are ready to begin our service at this time. We would ask if everybody would please take their seats for us. There are available seats that are up here in the front. We encourage you to please move forward and use these seats. I think it would make the family feel a lot more comfortable if you were close. Please feel free to come down and take any of the available seats that you see that are here toward the front. We would also ask at this time if you would take just a moment to ensure that your cell phones are in the silent position. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Adonai roi lo echsar bino deshe yarbitzeni al menuchot Nafshi yeshovev, yeshovev, yancheni b'magalei tzedek, yancheni b'magalei tzedek, leman shemo. Gam ki elech begetz al mavet lo irara ki ata imani shiftecha umishantecha hema Taroch lefanai, shulchan netzorerai, dishanta Hashem en roshi, kosi revaya. Chesed yirnefoni kol yemei chayai kol yemei chayai v'shavti b'beit Adonai le'orech yamim. Adonai roi lo echsar. Adonai roi lo echsar.
Shalom, everyone. I'm Jacob Lusky, rabbi here at CBI. We gathered together as a community today. You all received a brochure, and if you didn't, somebody near you did, and they'll be happy to share with you. Cantor Schultz just presented the 23rd Psalm, and if you open it, I invite you to read it with me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod, thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. LeDavid Mizmor, L'Adonai ha'aretz umlo'a tevel v'yoshveva, ki hu al yamim yesada ve'al neharot yehoneneha. Mi ya'aleh behar Adonai, umi yakum bimkom kodsho, neki hapayim uvar levav, asher lo nasa lashav nafshi velo nishpa lemirma. Yisa bracha me'et Adonai u'tzdaka melohei isho, zedor dorshav, mevatshei fanecha Yaakov Selah. The earth is the Lord's and its fullness. The world is his and all its inhabitants. He founded the world upon the seas. He set it firm upon flowing waters. Who may ascend the mountain of the Lord? Who may stand in God's holy place? One who has clean hands and a pure heart, who takes not God's name in vain, swearing falsely. One will receive a blessing from God, a just reward from the God of deliverance. Such is the generation of those who seek God, who, like Jacob, long for his presence. We gather today with bowed heads, a very sad and solemn, bereaved community here at Congregation B'nai Israel, the spiritual home of the Weiss family, to perform a most difficult and arduous task, remembering with love and affection Micha Melech ben Israel Velea, Dr. Mitchell Weiss, Liba Gittel bat Yehuda Halevi Vesara, Dr. Leslie Weiss, Hannah Maya bat Micha Melech veliba Gittel, Hannah May Weiss, Ari Moshe ben Micha Melech veliba Gittel, Ari Moses Weiss, Zichronam Livracha, of blessed memory, our beloved family who were true friends to so many. We also recall Bruce and Irene Steinberg and their sons Matthew, William, and Zachary. Their rabbi, Jonathan Blake of Scarsdale, New York, extends his condolences to our community as I shared ours with his. Words are most difficult today, as I know they are for all of you, because of the depth of our feelings. Indeed, this is a time of unbelievable and penetrating shock, because death came so quickly and so unexpectedly. It's a tragic time because all four of our beloved friends left us at such young and vibrant ages. There was so much undone, unlived, unsaid. Yet words are our only vehicle to communicate with each other. So the next period of time we shall hear many words, and please God, they will be of comfort to the parents, to the siblings, to the cousins, to the uncles, the aunts, the large mishpacha, the CBI community, the Pinellas County community, the Ramah community, the List College community, the USY, United Synagogue community, and every other community that our four beloved friends were a part of. Marcy Hackle, Leslie's sister, will begin our memories.
My sister Leslie was the light of our lives. When she walked into a room, it always got more lively and fun, and you knew she was there from her mere presence and infectious laugh that she never held back. She was super smart, always inquisitive, and above all, loved life in a big way. Leslie was smart from a very young age, part genetic, part from watching Sesame Street, and part from always being right there trying to join in with her older sisters and our friends. It was no surprise she was chosen for one of the first honors programs at Penn State, got in no sweat to Jefferson Medical School, and was selected to stay on as the chief resident at St. Chris in Philadelphia when training in pediatrics. Leslie loved kids and babies, and her patients and parents loved her back. How could you not love your pediatrician when she introduced herself by saying, "My name is Dr. Weiss, and it rhymes with nice, so you can call me Dr. Nice." She could not walk past a baby without peeking into the stroller or see a young child without stopping to talk. An outing with Leslie could easily become an extended event with these frequent diversions, and it sometimes drove her kids nuts. Being Jewish was a key part of who my sister was. She was loved as both a camper and counselor at Camp Ramah in the Poconos, was a leader in the Torah Club at AJ, and continued to actively participate in her synagogue, reading Torah several times a month, serving on committees, and celebrating every holiday. My sister was someone that went to Sukkot services even when she was out of town. And one year, when she was in New York City with her family during Purim, she was so happy when they found a synagogue that had a wild celebration going on, which they went to and talked about for months. Those were some of the things that made her happy, in addition to watching Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert, reading and talking about books, getting her long-desired new Mercedes convertible for a few weeks ago for her 50th birthday, buying shoes and pocketbooks, I now have found out, and shopping for the perfect gifts for people. No one gave better presents than Aunt Leslie. They were thoughtful, special, and often were given to you for no other reason than she saw it, thought of you, and decided you might like it. No one had a bigger gift closet or more generous heart for giving than my sister. Her gift closet is literally a filled closet with gifts of all kinds, and she was equally as generous with her donations to many organizations for which she was passionate, including Israel Bonds, Camp Ramah, and Planned Parenthood, to name a few. Leslie and Mitch met through an "oh, by the way" from their moms. My mom and Mitch's mom knew each other from when they were first married, and we were all young kids living in Mount Airy before we moved to Abington and they moved to Cheltenham. They ran into each other years later and discovered they both had kids going to medical school at Jefferson. So they happened to mention, "Oh, by the way, do you know someone named Leslie Levin? And do you know someone named Mitchell Weiss?" They asked their respective kids. And they found each other, fell in love, and got married, which just goes to show you that sometimes it is a good thing to listen to your mother. Years later, the two moms actually found photos of Mitchell's older sisters and me and my sister Debbie at each other's birthday parties. Talk about a small world. Mitch was a Renaissance man. He was skilled in so many areas. Not only was he super smart, but not quite as smart as Leslie in my book, but I am somewhat partial. Knew a lot about history, politics, business, and lots of topics. Was a competitive gymnast at Cheltenham High School and Princeton University. Was an interventional radiologist, but he was also one of the few Jewish guys that loved to fix things, was incredibly handy around the house, and would usually do projects on his own without Leslie even asking him to. He was very particular about how things were done and was always having to reshape his bushes and hedges because no one else could do it just right. He was an avid skier, very outgoing, loved to talk with people, and he really did think he was funny in his sometimes sarcastic way. He was a passionate, caring doctor. When I was visiting them, there were several times when he was worried about a patient and went back to check on them or made an extra call to see that everything was okay. He was interested in helping to make advances in the field and was continually working on producing new innovations to improve patient care and outcomes. Leslie and Mitch complemented each other perfectly, and in turn were wonderful parents together. They were patient in different ways and about different things, excelled in opposite subjects, and of course Hannah and Ari quickly learned who to ask for what depending on the desired answer. Hannah was born first in Philadelphia, and I always had a special place in my heart because she was the same age difference from my oldest daughter as Leslie and I were. And so when she was born, I announced that she was my third daughter. Over the years, I had the pleasure of watching her grow and helping along the way. The year she was between 1 and 2 years old, Mitch was at Hopkins and Leslie was working in Erdenheim Pediatrics in the area. Hannah and Leslie came over every Tuesday night for dinner, and even at that young age, Hannah was in training to be health conscious, and we had to make salmon and broccoli special for her every week. Hannah from a young age was a go-getter and knew how to make things happen. She was very involved in high school, on the yearbook, and other clubs. However, being Jewish was at the core of who she was, having gone to Jewish day school and then spending summers at Camp Ramah Darom in Georgia. It was not a surprise that throughout high school and even in college, her passion became USY. She began as the president of her synagogue chapter and then went on to have leadership roles on the regional board and ultimately on the international board. She was a superstar organizer and knew how to usually convince adult leaders to support her new ideas, whether it was initiating a composting project in the dorms at JTS where she went to college, wiggling her way into working on a food podcast show, or designing and developing a new program across US-wide chapters to engage new members. Hannah was the only 19-year-old that already had a 2-page resume with all legit and awesome positions, and even I was hard-pressed to figure out how to reduce it to 1 page as she was in the process of applying to internships for the summer. she was committed to many causes for someone only 19 and volunteered for many food-related and grassroots organizations involved with sustainability, healthy food, the environment, and humane treatment of animals. Last summer, as most of you know, she even worked on a kibbutz in Israel, tending to the goats, weeding the vegetable beds, and then serving the fresh produce and cheese products to visitors. Leslie was hoping this would get the farming bug out of her, and while Hannah loved it, it did seem like when she got back, this experience in the fields was enough, as she was looking to potentially be in Washington, D.C. this summer doing food policy, a far cry from farming in Israel. Hannah was very excited about the idea of going to school in New York City, specifically to the joint program at Columbia University in the Jewish Theological Seminary, much to Leslie's chagrin because she was worried about Hannah going to school in the city. Hannah loved the Jewish environment, the ability to find like-minded people who cared about being Jewish like she did, as well as the opportunity to take classes at Columbia, essentially the best of all worlds. She tried lots of angles to convince Leslie, starting with the fact that she has cousins in New York City, family in Long Island and Philadelphia, and this was the best place to meet a Jewish husband. But what really sold Leslie was the fact that she completed the early decision application on her own, and the email Mitch helped her write that Hannah sent to Leslie when Leslie was visiting in Philadelphia for the weekend. I read the email with Leslie, and while we were both a bit suspicious about if Hannah really wrote it, as mothers, we both looked at each other and agreed. We didn't want Hannah to blame Leslie that she didn't go to the college where she wanted to. Leslie finally said yes, and we both crossed our fingers and hoped that Hannah did not get in. But of course she did. Hannah was the kind of person who made friends wherever she went because her enthusiasm was hard not to be attracted to, and she is someone who knew how to make her dreams come true. It was always a tie between Ari and Yaniv in our family in terms of who was the most handsome guy in our family. Ari was tall, funny, and had the greatest smile that spread all the way up to his eyebrows. He was a handful growing up, but Leslie would not give up or give in, and he turned out to be absolutely incredible in every way. He was definitely the smartest one, even in a family of smarties, and Leslie and Mitch agreed he was off the charts smart. When he was little, he loved Legos and Pokemon, and I am not too sure he really ever outgrew these two things because he still seemed to be buying Pokemon collector cards every now and again with Hanukkah or birthday money. He loved learning from an early age, and this continued throughout his too short life. Leslie had to limit his screen time like most moms, but this was not because he was playing mindless video games, although he did do this too. He was spending too much time watching science and math videos. He loved Bill Nye, and a favorite YouTube video of his was about the Fibonacci series, and he was so excited to share it with me since he knew I loved math too. Ari got Leslie's musical gene, and he played piano, guitar, and ukulele, and he was in the process of writing his own music and lyrics and recording them. He performed in many shows both at school and in outside theater groups. Even at a young age, he had many big parts with singing solos because of his beautiful voice and stage presence, working his way towards being a lead he hoped when he would have been a junior or senior. Ari also loved being Jewish, and Camp Ramah Darom was truly his happy place. When I asked him what he loved most about camp after each of his first few summers, it was always the same things: Kabbalat Shabbat, Havdalah, his bunkmates, and the girls. Although the order of these favorite things did start changing over the years, as you can imagine. He was exceptionally good with younger kids, and he seemed to be a magnet for talking and playing with them, and older people also loved him too. I guess to sum it up, he was just a super lovable, awesome, terrific young guy. Ari and Hannah both loved their extended family as well, a feeling fostered by both Leslie and Mitch. They loved coming to Philly and New York to visit their family, and coming in for holidays was a special treat. We looked ahead in the calendar to always be able to plan the Passover Seders that would be falling on weekends or during spring break so that we could all celebrate together. Passover was an extra special holiday to be together, as we are one of those families that actually goes back and finishes the Seder after the meal. We sing every song in the Haggadah, including every verse of Hadgadya and Adirhu, with Leslie always starting us off on the right key, Avi, my brother-in-law, singing in the wrong key, and everyone else singing loudly to keep up, and lots of laughing too. Any outsiders who have joined our family Seder look shocked when we bring the books back out, but can quickly see why this is a special family tradition that Leslie wanted to make sure her kids had, and to continue to share her love for our culture. Leslie and Mitch loved Hannah and Ari, their families, their friends, their co-workers, each other, and life in general. Hannah and Ari loved each other, their family, and friends. So, the action steps from today. When you watch an episode of Colbert, think of Leslie laughing out loud. And when you see a Mercedes convertible go by, honk for Leslie. When you hear an intellectually funny joke, or wish you were married to a Jewish handyman who also just so happens to be a doctor, think of Mitch. When you see an article about sustainability or saving our planet, or see young people celebrating their passion for being Jewish, think of Hannah. When you flip through the TV channels looking for something to watch and you see a science show come on, or you meet a teenage guy who is the total package, smart, kind, and handsome, think of Ari. And when you hear the word nice, remember that it rhymes with Weiss, and nice is just a very small part of what this wonderful, loving family was really all about.
Thank you, Marcy. Debbie Picker, Mitch's sister, will share some thoughts.
December 31st, 2017, at 7:09 p.m., I received a phone call that changed my life and those of you who love Leslie, Mitchell, Hannah, and Ari forever. It started out as a somewhat normal day. My husband wasn't feeling well, so we decided to cancel our plans and stay in for New Year's Eve. We are in the process of getting our home ready to sell, so I was sitting on my living room couch, packing up tchotchkes and pictures. I was texting with a friend who lives in Sarasota, telling her that I would be in the area on January 12th, and could we get together? We hadn't spoken in some time, and she explained that her dad had been ill, but that she was lucky because her sister was with her to navigate his health issues. She commented that my family is also very close, specifically referring to the time when my dad was so ill. We texted back and forth, and I said, yes, I am lucky. My sister-in-law was really good to both of my parents, and that she is still really good to my mom. You see, when my dad was an invalid at home, even with their busy schedules, Leslie made dinner every Sunday night and brought it to my parents' home. Mommy, I don't think anyone had a daughter-in-law as good as Leslie was. Leslie took a picture once when my dad was in bed with his little hat on his head, and Ari would cuddle up next to my dad, and then Mitchell jumped in the bed, and then Bella, their dog, jumped in their bed. And it is such a precious picture that I'm so grateful that we have. And so now for those of you who knew my brother, and I mean really knew my brother, you know he had a sense of humor, or at least we know he thought he was funny. Mitchell was sarcastic and always quick with a quip, but usually never at anyone's expense, unless you were the waiter or the service person who didn't quite know how to do their job correctly. And in making fun, it was always out of earshot so that they would not be heard. I can't say he would whisper because his booming voice just wouldn't allow it. In his honor, I will share with you some of the humorous sides of his life while we were growing up. After 2 girls, my parents had their son. Blonde hair, yes, at one time he had hair, and blue eyes that had a mischievous twinkle. My sister Rhonda and I could sit quietly for hours playing with Barbies, coloring, or dressing up. Mitchell was always on the go. Before he was 4, he cracked his head open twice and somehow sprained his neck. I am sure if the ESPN X Games existed back in the 60s and 70s, we would have discovered Mitchell jumping off the roof of our house. Well, back to the perfect easy sisters. One afternoon when Mitchell was 2, he was playing quietly at the sink. My mother was so happy that she could get some chores done around the house. She went downstairs to put in a load of laundry to discover the basement flooded. She was trying to find the pipe that burst when she realized Mitchell had taken the hose and was putting the water back down the hole. The next day, she enrolled him in preschool and went back to work. Somehow she rationalized that teaching 60 kindergarten students was easier than staying at home with one boy who constantly was trying to figure out how things worked. We had a golden retriever named Rusty. He was beautiful but dumb. He got captured by the dog catcher and we had to go bail him out. Luckily, this was all before my dad came home from work, so he wouldn't know. No sooner than my dad walks in the door, this little boy looks up at him and said, "We have a secret we can't tell you." Not a happy father. We lived in a Center Hall Colonial. My mom would pack our lunches and put them on the steps by the front door so we could grab them on our way out the door to go to school. Chances are, 4 out of 5 days, Mitchell would forget his lunch, and we would be yelling, "Mitchell, your lunch!" Leslie learned quickly that if she didn't match their schedule and constantly remind him where he needed to be, Mitchell might never show up. He had no sense of time either. An offshoot of this occurred this past December. Mitchell and one of his nurses were going to the Lightning's hockey game. Leslie said, "Don't you think you should call your nephews and let them know you will be there?" He said, "Why?" You see, the Lightning were playing the Islanders. My younger son is a broadcaster for the team, and my older son, who lives in the area, was going to the game. I am so grateful that my boys got to hug their uncle and kiss him one last time. One Hanukkah, my parents splurged and brought Mitchell walkie-talkies. My mother knew how his brain worked and said, "Don't you dare take those apart." He didn't. He told his friend how to do it. In middle school, Mitchell went on a class trip to the Italian market. I was home alone with my best friend Janice. Mitchell threw a bag at us, said, "Take care of this," and ran out the door to go to Hebrew school. We looked inside, screamed. In the bag were live crabs. Don't worry, they were the kosher kind. My brother was always the inventor. He created stuffed animal trash cans for cars. He sold a few, and I mean a few. Forget Victoria's Secret with their pink slogan. At Princeton, my brother, along with some of his friends, had sweatpants made up with tigers printed across the backside and sold them at football games. College kids don't like suitcases and pack their stuff in trash bags. I always told my kids to use clear bags. Why? When Mitchell was moving into his apartment for medical school, he threw out his clothes and unpacked his trash. He had to buy back his clothes from the homeless man on the corner. The people he became friends with in medical school were the ones who laughed at his jokes during lectures. Once when my family was visiting Leslie and Mitchell, they wanted to watch the football game. Mitchell and Leslie had a TV, but it wasn't hooked up to cable, because Leslie knew that instead of studying for his boards, he would be watching cartoons in the middle of the night. So off to Sandy and Ed's house we went to watch the Cowboys beat the Eagles. When Mitchell and Leslie moved to Florida, I came down with my boys for a vacation. My parents were not living here yet, and Leslie was working full-time. I looked forward to spending some relaxing time in the sunshine with my brother and my niece. That did not happen. Off to Home Depot we went, buying piping and other materials for his first invention prototype. As I mentioned before, Leslie was a terrific daughter-in-law. I knew that my mom had Leslie to lean on as my father's health declined. She always included my mom in everything and made sure that she checked with her every few days. As a daughter who lived out of town, I knew my mom was well taken care of. Leslie was the first to purchase my boys their college sweatshirts when they made the decision which school to attend. While at school, she would send them little gifts like how to cook using only 4 ingredients. We all know that Leslie loved to shop. When she came to New York on one trip, we went to a specialty shoe store. Leslie was in Shopper's Paradise, and I think the UPS man threw his back out when he delivered the shoes that she ordered. Leslie was brilliant, and this extended to the hiring of nannies. Leslie would do the initial interviews, and if she liked the person, they would then meet Mitchell. He used to say they all looked like Squidward, but not you, Tara and Myra. Hannah was always on the go and never afraid to try anything new. When she was about 8 or 9, she traveled to Long Island by herself to visit. We shopped until we dropped as Hannah went from mall to mall in her funky tutu. Coming from a mom with 2 boys, who at that time the color wear only consisted of black, gray, and navy, this was a lot for me to take in. On that same trip, Hannah and I took the train to New York City so that I could hand her off to Marcy, and then they went off on their own and had their own special fun. In 12th grade, when Hannah wanted to be on the USY International Board, Leslie and Mitchell were not thrilled. They thought that she was overextending herself. I said to Mitchell, "You and Leslie are also so driven, and you turned out okay." My brother looked at me and said, "We just wanted to go to medical school and become doctors. Hannah wants to save the world." At the end of Hannah's freshman year, I helped her move out of her dorm. I'm thinking, I'm too old for this, but I shouldn't have worried. Hannah's friends helped carry all the stuff out to my car and loaded it. To thank them, I took them out to breakfast. Hannah asked me to split pancakes with her, but only if I didn't tell her mom. You see, at that time, Hannah was still a vegan. And of course, I did tell Leslie in confidence, and we had a good laugh over it. At the start of this new school year, Mitchell and Hannah came to New York. The day before the dorms were open, we went to the New York Botanical Gardens for the tulip exhibit. I am so glad we spent time together walking among the trees and plants that Hannah loved so much. The next day, we loaded up my car and somehow managed to get everything in. Arriving at the dorm, her friends were there to help. As she walked through campus, Mitchell said that he could see Ari being happy going to school here also. My brother was so proud of his talented son. Mitchell was an athlete, Ari was not. Some fathers might be upset that their son wasn't going to be the next Wayne Gretzky or Derek Jeter, but not Mitchell. He, along with Leslie, wanted their children to blaze their own path. They were a family who loved to play board games. Now, I'm not brilliant like Mitch and Leslie, but I am above average intelligence and can generally hold my own. At the age of 7 or 8, Ari could outspell me in boggle and bananagrams. When Ari became a bar mitzvah on this very bima, I was so amazed. I have never seen someone so in command. I asked him whose job he wanted, the rabbis or the canners. Because quite honestly, at the age of 13, he could have handled both. 2 years ago, Ari played Matzel and Fiddler on the Roof. It was such a joy to watch him. Ari did an exceptional job. A few months later, I saw the revival of Fiddler on Broadway. And although I may be a little biased, in my heart of hearts, I believe that Ari, with his lanky arms and legs, did a better job than the professional actor. And I made sure Ari knew how I felt. My boys, who are around 5'8", 5'9", used to joke that Ari was their little cousin. During the memorial service in Philadelphia, one of Leslie's cousins made a comment that they were either a second cousin or a cousin once removed. Well, have you ever heard of a relative called a cousin-cousin? My boys have described their relationship to Hannah and Ari's cousins that way. When my parents and Mitchell and Leslie lived in Philadelphia, we had big family Thanksgivings, which included Sandy, Ed, Marcy, Bob, their girls, my in-laws, and my husband's sister entire family. Debbie and Avi at the time were still living in Israel. We are all one big family. People have been reaching out to us. We have pictures of Mitchell, Leslie, Hannah, and Ari on vacation. They were having a wonderful time. Eventually, I will share them, but for now, it's just a little too raw. We always say that the world is small, especially the Jewish world. We all seem to be related or know each other in some way. My sister-in-law, Susan's high school friend, was Marcy's college roommate. Susan went to camp with Joni Berner, and my niece's BFF is Jodi's niece. Through this tragedy, we have found out that there are people who know the Steinbergs and the Weisses. We are bound to the Steinberg family forever. In learning about these wonderful people, it is easy to see why these two families had so much fun together on vacation. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Steinberg family as we all try to accept what we cannot change. I could stay here all week to share story after story. We appreciate everything that you have shared with us on social media. There are many icons after these posts: red hearts, broken hearts, emojis with tears. My sign-off will always be a blue heart for Mitchell, a pink heart for Leslie, a pink heart for Hannah, and a blue heart for Ari. Although it does not feel like it, we will smile and laugh again, but a piece of us will always be missing. The other evening at a memorial at Ari's school, I stated, "All our lives have been changed forever, and we will never be the same, but we all have been better off for knowing Mitchell, Leslie, Hannah, and Ari. They had so much love to give, and everyone who knew them gave them so much love back. We ask that when you think of them, you sing a little louder, smile a little brighter, and please keep them in your hearts forever. I love you, Mitchell. I love you, Leslie. I love you, Hannah. I love you, Ari, and I will miss you forever. Thank you.